Hey crafty friends, this is Jen from Katahdin Crafts and welcome back to my channel. Today I am playing with the Queen of Hearts and painting the red roses. They are Miss Ink stamps and I made some shaker cards out of them. This is my first time working with Miss Ink stamps and I actually really love them. They have a whole Alice in Wonderland theme out and I want to get every single item in this release. For today's cards, I'm working with the Queen of Hearts, Painting the Roses, Queen's Castle, and a stencil called Pick a Card. And then this was a freebie that came, and I actually absolutely love it. It's probably one of my very favorite stencils ever. And I'm also playing with some Gina K designed foil and some of their embellishments, some of Miss Ink Stamp's embellishments. And in order to do a transfer with the oil, I'm using the Decafoil Transfer Gel Blanco and some various tools as well. All right, let's get started. So first I'm going to take this stencil and I'm going to spray it with some pixie spray, and then I'm going to lay it down. I'm using my grid on my mat to try to get it straight as possible. And now I knew that I wanted to make all the clubs and the spades black, and then the hearts and the diamonds and the red, just like a typical playing card deck. And I had to come up with a solution in order how to figure out how to do this. It didn't work with the purple tape, not my dimension that I have of the purple tape. I couldn't just lay it down in stripes, so diagonal stripes. So what I did is I just took some like post-it tape and I just individually, it took a little bit, but not, not that bad. And I did like the results. So I just took the post-it note and stuck covered up all the red parts. And then I took some Gina K Obsidian black ink. And it's also my first time using this ink, and I love the crispness of it. So I laid that down, and then I was going to try to reuse the tape again, but it didn't want to stick back down. So I just removed that, and then I retaped all the black parts. And now I'm going ahead with that transfer gel and using a palette knife and putting this down. And this is probably only my second time trying this technique, so I definitely have not perfected it. And especially actually with using the masking, I have never done that with this before. But I always love trying new things and learning, and if at first you don't succeed, try again. So that is definitely my motto, especially when it comes to stuff in the craft room. I love playing and experimenting, and if I can't figure out how to do it, or if I didn't like the way it works, I go back to the drawing board and I'll watch some YouTube channels and figure it out. So you can see it did kind of bleed through the stencil a little bit onto those the black parts. So I tried to scrape it off, but it didn't really work very well. So this is a new tip. I saw somebody use Dawn Power Wash dish spray on to clean their stencils, and so when I got all of that transfer gel onto my mat, I went ahead and squirted that, and it actually picked up the mat really well. And I have tried it on my stencils, and it does work really well to clean it. So I definitely recommend Dawn Power Wash dish spray to help in the craft room. And now this is why I love that stencil. Look at that. It's just really cool. It's so satisfying pulling that off. Look at that crispness, and that pattern is just amazing. I just kept on staring at it. I really liked it. So now I let that transfer gel sit for about an hour. That's what's recommended. And I'm going to try to foil. So I'm putting the Gina K foil on. I just cut it to the size and pressed it down, and I folded a piece of copy paper and use that as my folder to put it through my laminating machine. And if you can see, I was pointing towards the ready thing. My light never comes on. The ready light never comes on. It kind of almost looks like it was right there, but I never can see it in person. So I just let it heat for a very long time and then I try it. And so you can see, yeah, I got some overfoiling, and then some of the spots of the hearts especially didn't come out. But I was having some trouble with the gel when I was placing it down. I could kind of see some ridges in it, and I'm not sure if that was because of the masking tape. And I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to stuff like this. So like I said, try again. So I don't actually use this in today's project, but I wanted you to see my trials and error. It's actually a really neat concept, being able to use one stencil for two different colors. I just need to work on it and perfect it a little bit more, maybe find a thinner tape or something. But I did like it, and I'll probably end up using bits and pieces of it in a different background at some point because I really do like this stamp set and I intend to play with it a lot more. Okay, now for the next step in my projects, I went ahead and stamped out all of my images with the Gina K Obsidian ink onto Nina White cardstock in 110 pound. And then I'm going to do my Copic coloring on all of these. And I am speeding it up quite a bit more because there's a lot of coloring involved in this. I don't show every single piece that I colored, but I do give the basics in each one and the colors. I just kind of switched up the patterns, and but you'll get the gist of what I'm showing you. And I put all my Copic markers on the screen so you can see the colors that I chose. And I'm using a 3 blend on all of the Copic coloring today. A light color, a medium tone, and a dark tone. And then I lay down the light first, and then I go to the medium, and then I go to the dark for the shadows, and then I go back to the light tone in order to smooth it all and blend it out. And once in a while, if there's still like a stark line, you'll see this right now in the skirt, if there's a stark line and I don't like how the contrast is, I'll go back and I'll put that medium in there a little bit just to kind of even that out and get it to my liking. It's really all personal preference. See, I'm adding the medium again and then going back in with the light, so just working that out. And okay, so when I'm coloring, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that my family did when we were first on quarantine, well, or stay at home. We were never really actually quarantined, but it was the stay at home, stay safe. My daughter did all of these different themed dinners for us because it was just something to keep her occupied. We didn't have sports like everybody else, and we're a big time sports family. And one of her themes for dinner was Alice in Wonderland. So I thought that this was really cool, and I probably will eventually use this stamp set in actual scrapbook pages. I would like to do a whole quarantine 2020 book because we did a lot of different events in the house together. You know, it really did bring us closer. I think I've talked about this on other videos. It really did. Like, we, instead of running around and going in 5 different places, or my husband being in one sports game and me at the other with another kid, you know, the 5 of us were kind of all just together all the time. And it was really nice. So, like I said, one of these events that she did was Alice in Wonderland, and she did a really good job. So, she would take her afternoon and do different themed foods plus the decorations, and sometimes she would plan it ahead. Oh, let me just go back to the project. I actually, when I colored this little fella, her guard, I didn't really care for the way that I did it, so I just cut him right out and I do a different one. And then I was adding her heart lips. Um, I was the Queen of Hearts during this little themed dinner because we also dressed up for most of them, and I did like a little heart on my lips. I am at the end of the video adding in some of my family photos of that event that we had, so you can just kind of see what she did and how we dressed, and it was really fun. My son was the rabbit, and everybody just, yeah, it was fun. We all did a different thing. I think my daughter was the Mad Hatter. One was Alice. You know, we didn't go out and purchase anything for it. We just kind of found what we had at home and went with it. So it was a lot of fun. Other themes that she did were, let's see, she did an Italian restaurant. She did a casino night. There was oh, she did a Japanese sushi, not sushi, but why can't I come up with the name of this? A hibachi grill. Yes, and she actually made the chef's hat, and she put up the grill in the house, and she kind of did it just like what they did, chopped in front of us and cooked in front of us. It was fun. She did a really good job with it. And going back to those lips, and I kind of got off on my own little tangent again. So the heart lips, I just used a little sparkly jelly roll pen in red, and I first used a pencil and just put the pencil mark down with the heart, and then just went back in with the jelly roll pen and filled it in. So pretty simple, but I just thought it added a little bit to to the character, and it was something that I did, so I thought it would be a neat little addition. So it was actually really fun to color all this stuff. The regal kind of colors that I picked, the yellows and the red, of course, for Queen of Hearts. And it was a lot of fun. I didn't reference like anything out of the movie. I just kind of went with what I thought would be neat. Like I said, that first one didn't come out because after I colored the front of the card yellow, I thought, cards are white in the front, so maybe that didn't work very well. So I went back. Oh, and another thing, so I'm doing different skin tones. I'm trying to do different things. I actually downloaded Sandy Allnock's The Human Rainbow, and I recommend anybody going ahead. Right now, I believe she's having a sale, and a lot of her things are freebies right now, a lot of her charts and stuff. And it's really fun to just fill out with your Copics and see the different array of skin tones. And it helps when you're sitting down and coloring your characters or your images, to have that reference sheet right in front of you. So that's definitely nice on her. I will link that at the bottom for everybody too. You can kind of see how messy my desk is getting at this point. I am using a lot of Copic markers for this, for these two projects. Yeah, and I tend to have a very messy area as I'm crafting. I get it all nice before I start any project. I always straighten everything up and get it nice and tidy, and then boom, everything in here, every surface gets crazy. um, and I was just, what do you do when you craft? Do you watch TV? Do you listen to music? Do you like it quiet? Lately this summer I have been listening to a lot of audiobooks. That's been my thing. I have found a few authors that I just go on to a listening spree of their particular books. I'll go from, yeah, like maybe 5 books in a row of the same author. And I've really enjoyed that. I've talked about my seasonal business before, and I have to do onion rings all summer. So I listen to my audiobooks as I'm doing that, and now I'm just loving it. And it depends on what I'm doing. I'm not much of a TV watcher, although I must say, since quarantine, I've watched more TV probably than I have in years. Um, and that was like, if I'm videoing though for a project, the way my studio is set up, I can't really watch TV. So that's when my audiobooks are really handy. But if I'm just testing out a product, or if I'm seeing how I want a card to be laid out or whatever before I actually start videoing, I do watch TV sometimes and watch some series. And yeah, so I'm just curious what everybody else does when they are crafting. Do you craft alone oft a lot, or do you craft with people? Sometimes my kids do. My son tends to be in here with me a little bit more. The girls I think would, but they're always busy off doing something of their own, or yeah. But anyway, so just curious to see what everybody does. Go ahead and comment below. That would be great. I'd love to hear from you. And now you can see all my images are done. I cut them out with my ScanNCut, my brother's ScanNCut, except the bushes would not. And you saw that I was putting that line at the bottom. I was trying to make that so that the ScanNCut would pick that up as an image, but I just couldn't get it to. It kept on picking up the roses. So I went ahead and just fussy cut that out. It didn't really take me that long, and I like the way it turned out around the leaves and stuff. And now I'm adding some highlights. I'm trying to do better about my highlights, because it definitely adds some dimension. And, they're probably not perfect, but again, I'm okay with that. I like the way it looks. So just adding a little bit to each one of the images here and there. It gives it that little bit of dimension and just that little bit, another layer. I chose all very bright colors for these projects, just because that's the way I wanted it. I kind of wanted it to look really cartoony and bright. I can definitely see it all in very subtle colors as well. I think that would be another good play on this. Um, and I am looking forward to doing some more. So I was actually really kind of excited about how this all worked out. First, I cut down this panel to 5 7/16 by 4 1/8. And then I'm using Lawn Fawn's Just Stitched double rectangles, which what I did is I had not taken them apart yet, So I clipped off the first two and left those together, which worked out well, and it left that nice border. And then I slipped a Spellbinders A2 Matte Basic A, the one that fit into that spot. I slipped that right in, and I just used purple tape to get it all down. And that's how I came up with my frame for my shaker cards. And I was super happy with actually how that worked. So here you can see now I'm going to use my Dawn spray again because I got a little bit of glue onto my acetate. Oh, and see, again, I was having quite the time with that. And like I said, that Dawn Power Wash dish spray really came in handy with this project. And I decided to double layer this with two different frames just for a little bit more stability. So right now I'm just testing it, and I cut my frame, my back panel, as the same as my frames. And I'm just, in the acetate, when I cut that part, I just did it a slightly smaller than the frame, and so I can glue that. Now I'm going to use double sticked foam tape. I'm going to do 2 layers, and the nice thing about this is that the frames were just about the right exact size to fit a full piece of foam tape. So there was no cutting or fussing. So, well, a little bit of cutting and fussing, but you know what I mean. I didn't have to cut it in half. I just needed to trim up the ends, and I did trim up each end so it would kind of be square again. And once I tore it, see, I just kind of squared that up, and that way it butted right up against each other really nicely. Then in order to get a really good depth on there, I just double layered it. I went around and put another layer on each piece. And then this is the fun part. I started filling up my shaker card with all the little pieces, all the hearts, little clay hearts, and then the cards. And then I used some of Nuvo glittery stuff. What is it? It's called Fiery Phoenix Circles. It's a sheen confetti. And I used a few Trinity that's like they were melted icicles, so they were kind of iridescent looking. And I put all of that in there, and then I adhered my back piece on there, and look at that. I was really happy with how that looked. I think it's quite striking. And you can see the foam tape hung off on certain parts just a little bit, so I just took my snips and just cleaned that up a little bit from where I thought it was going to overhang, and you could see it. It wasn't too difficult to do that. And I had a really good seal on all of that, so none of the confetti was coming out. I sometimes have issues with that, but the way I laid it straight and didn't cut and all that stuff, I had no problems with any of it seeping out. I'm going to set this aside and start shaker card number 2. I didn't want to decorate the first one until I had this background done, and that way I could decide how I wanted to do both of them at the same time with the elements that I already had colored. So I'm just using a little pumice stone distress oxide ink and stamping down the castle. I just wanted it kind of look faded in the background. I liked the way it looked. I cut myself out 2 more panels for the shaker card, 2 more frames, I mean. And this time I left the black frame in the background the same size as a regular card panel, 5.5 by 4.25. And that way actually it framed the red piece that I had in the front. And I'm using the same mixture to fill up, except that I added a little bit of yellow because I'm using my yellow guards, I think, for this one. So I thought that that would be a nice little addition. And I also used some of my roses that I already had colored, so I can put that in there. One thing I wish that I did pick up from Missing Stamps was they have some embellishments that are little, the roses. I believe they're white, they're red, and they're pink, and I would have loved to have put that in my shaker card. But hindsight, so next time I'll have to get that. And there's my other one, so with the castle kind of lightly in the background, and then all my shaker things. And the static electricity will give away after a while. And I did take that anti-static tool, the powder, and I did go around before I took off the stickers of the foam tape. I went around those edges so that everything wouldn't stick to the foam tape on those edges. Now I'm just using some liquid glue. I had planned out my cards a bit and then using the liquid glue to adhere all of my pieces and just sticking that right behind. And I also, in the meantime, also had printed out or stamped out my sentiments. For this particular card, I used let the hearts and fun times roll, or heads, sorry, let the heads and fun times roll. And I'm going to foam dot that so it has a little bit more dimension, and just add that sentiment right to the center of the top. And there you go. And I just have to put that on a card base, and that one's all ready. Just get some liquid glue, stick that down, and I absolutely love this. Actually, and my husband came in when I was doing this, and he said that these are probably the his most favorite cards that I've ever done. So how about that? And now I'm just using a little Wink of Stella to clear pen to go ahead and put a little bit of sparkle on the hearts, the crown, and the roses. And gonna go to this one and do the same thing, just adhere everything down. I had already placed how I already played with it and decided how I was gonna place everything. And I did want to use the yellow guards, the ones that had a little bit more yellow in them, because of using the yellow sequins in this shaker. Right here you can really see how leaving the black frame in the background just a little bit larger and then layering them with the acetate between them left a little bit another frame around that. And you know, I thought I could probably have bumped everything down by another eighth of an inch and then had a white card panel, and the white would have shown through too, so that would also be nice. So painting the roses red, and you can see how I kept it with the buckets of paint, and each one of my guards is going to have a paintbrush. And so they are painting the roses red. I think they're called guards. I need to update myself, I guess, on Alice in Wonderland a little bit better. Yeah, maybe they have a different name. Somebody can educate me on that. And now I'm just going to put this on the white card panel, but like I said, you can't really see the white, but that would have been another interesting layer. That little glue. I love liquid glue, but my fingers definitely get gluey. All right, there we go. 2 shaker cards, and I got the husband approval. To finish off the inside of the card, I'm just using a couple more of those images that I colored and just sticking them in there. They have some really nice sentiments on the set that you could put in, but I just left it like that so then I could use it for different occasions. I wouldn't be locking myself into anything. I could do a happy birthday or whatever on there. So anyway, I really did enjoy this project or these projects. They were super fun. I love the color. I love black and white with the pop of red. And I really did love that stencil too. I hope you found some inspiration today and that you try to do a cool shaker card. All their little embellishments, there's several to choose from. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you did. Also, check out my blog. Eventually I will have a blog post on there for these cards with all of the information. All of the materials that I used today will be linked below. And here is my family's Alice in Wonderland party. I had the evil queen look on my face trying to. Thank you all for stopping in. I really appreciate it. Like and hit that bell if you want to know when I have new videos up. Thank you so much. Have a great day and happy crafting!